Welcome back. Now, Revenue Secretary Sanjay Malhotra will succeed ShaktikantaDas as the RBI Governor. He will take over as the new RBI Governor tomorrow for a 3-year tenure. We have with us Mr. KV Kamath, Chairman of Jio Financial Services, joining us now for his thoughts on this appointment and, of course, what this would mean. It's a very, very closely watched position, which now, of course, has been filled. We'll, by the way, also be hearing from the outgoing RBI Governor, Mr. Das, in just a bit from now, and we'll cut live to that as well. Mr. Kamath, good morning. Great to have you with us here, as always. Prashant this side. Mr. Kamath, first thoughts. Mr. Sanjay Malhotra, career bureaucrat, like Mr. Das, if I may point out. What do you make of it, sir?
Prashant, good morning. Firstly, I think I would like to acknowledge all that Governor Das has done over many years, holding things steady right through COVID and the turmoil that we've seen in the last couple of years. I think Governor Malhotra brings a wealth of experience, and I will just put it in context. I think this is the first governor that we would have who would have had experience leading a financial institution, who has experience leading the Department of Financial Services, then leading the revenue function in the country. And to top it all, Governor Malhotra is a computer science engineer. And if I look at the RBI today, it's in a very steady state, but the initiatives that they've taken is with regard to technology. Initiatives that RBI has taken are far beyond what other, in other domains we would see central banks and the regulators have taken. So I think we have absolutely the correct governor to guide us through the next phase of sustaining growth and then leveraging technology as we look at the next horizon for India, which is a 25-year runway.
Mr. Kamath, it is, and absolutely, I think, very well put. It's a tricky time, right? I mean, growth is slowed down, you would agree. We're in real terms, we're in the 5% handle. Maybe it's an aberration and things will pick up. Inflation still remains sticky, largely because of the supply side issues. And you've got the RBI now, which is, the first MPC meeting will be in February for Mr. Malhotra. We had 3 outside members being inducted into the MPC in October. We have the government advertising for the post of Deputy Governor. So, you'll have possibly 5, new members. 2 of them would have already voted, though, in the December MPC. But largely, sort of, a lot of new blood in the MPC as they take forward what next in that sense. Do you foresee any significant change from how the RBI has conducted monetary policy till now?
Thank you, Prashant. No. I think if you look back at history, I think it has always been a steady, let's say, movement in whatever, whether it's exchange rates, currencies, or policies. Never has there been anything happening suddenly. And I would expect the same sort of steady hand going ahead from the governor. So everybody looks at the longer picture. The longer picture is a growth story that I don't think we have ever experienced before. And I'm sure RBI, the governor, will make sure that the things stay stable as we go along this journey. So I don't expect any impact of any changes that you spelled out just now.
The other thing from, again, the financial markets very well and what they expect and what they want to see, etc. Mr. Kamath, one of the things which the RBI has done in 2024 is really crack the whip when you talk about, lending practices across the board. NBFCs, MFIs, digital lending companies, banks, of course, have been at the receiving end as well. And they've kind of steadied the ship in that sense. And this is happening at a time when, at the margin, obviously, asset quality cannot remain as pristine as we've seen for the last couple of years. Things will deteriorate a little bit. It's the nature of things. So I just wanted your thoughts there as well. With the experience which Mr. Malhotra has and what the RBI so far has done in this area, what are your expectations?
Let me put it in context. Firstly, the steps that the RBI took were indeed warranted. I want to be explicit about it. These steps were warranted. Lending was getting loose. And some players were not using technology the way they could have, which resulted in the customers experiencing challenges. So certain steps had to be taken by the Reserve Bank of India, which they have taken, and that was good. Now, very interestingly, we have an incoming governor who has seen it as a secretary in the Department of Financial Services. So he knows what was happening in the marketplace. So he comes with that wealth of experience, having seen it from a slightly different position, as it were, not a different lens, from a different position. So I would think that we would have continuity that I think everybody in the market expects. And more importantly, continuity at a time when technology is disrupting everything. And in Governor Malhotra, you have a person who has the technology bent and would be able to, I'm sure, take forward the initiatives that the Reserve Bank has already put in effect, as it were.
And I was coming to that point, Mr. Kamath, right? I mean, the computer science graduate from the prestigious IIT Kanpur. So as you said, he has that bent of mind. So do you see sort of efforts in terms of technology, innovation? I mean, there's the CBDC, and everything is, of course, moving towards, there's more and more technology in everything, in banking as well. Do you see accelerated efforts in that sense with him at the helm now?
I would say that the Reserve Bank has done a remarkable job in terms of sandboxing and setting up institutions, and even now, various new type of new initiatives that they've taken. I think we now have a governor who also understands all these things and will be very easy, would be able to very easily take this forward, which I think is what the country needs to be a leader in financial services. I think today we are admired as a country which uses financial technology very, I would say, effectively in our financial services marketplace. And that would, I'm sure, continue with Governor Malhotra. He has got this extra advantage, as it were, with a background in computer science, which is, I think, where things are heading today. Almost everything that we do is driven by technology. And there, certainly, he would be very comfortable. And the organization has already taken steps. So sure, he will take these forward.
He headed Secretary Department of Revenue. He was also part of the GST Council as Secretary. As you said, he's of course been he's headed REC, and which one of these sort of roles, and of course many other roles as well. Which of these you think is the most, which stands out to you, Mr. Kamath, as he sort of takes over charge at the RBI for the next 3 years?
Prashant, all three. Since you first look at, as I said in the beginning, to my knowledge, he is the first governor who has actually headed a financial institution. So he understands the dynamics of a financial institution. And then, his role at the Department of Financial Services, he has, in a way, all the financial institutions in the country were reporting to the department. So he has intimate knowledge of that part of structure. And then revenue, because that is, again, an integral part of what, to complete the picture with the Reserve Bank of India. Ultimately, it is, in a way, policy, monetary policy, fiscal policy, all come together. And he has been at the center of this, I would say, interaction from the government side. Now you would look at it from this Reserve Bank side, and in a monetary policy context. So both the roles, his banking regulator role and his monetary policy authority role, I think he would be able to do it, given his background, with great ease.
Mr. Kamath, since I have you with us, let me ask you for your own sort of expectations, or actually, in that sense, demand or want, what you'd want to see. Does growth at the margin, Mr. Kamath, need a little bit of help now? A little bit of hand-holding extra? There's that point about government spending, which maybe will come back, and it has to come back in Q4. Both on fiscal and monetary side, sir.
Yeah, Prashant, I have never advocated in terms of doing anything major. And I have had great faith in regulators, what they have done, at least over the last almost 28 or 30 years since I came back in 1996 or 1995. So I think that will continue in terms of handholding. Now, what you mentioned, I would look at it with a slightly different lens. Is your runway long enough? The answer is yes. Are there any constraints, like quality issues, balance sheet issues? Answer is no. Thereafter, it is just, I would think, temporary things which are taking demand up, taking demand down. I don't think the underlying ability of corporates to invest for growth and to drive momentum has been in any way impaired. So I would think at the right time they will tweak whatever needs to be tweaked. I wouldn't be too worried about it at this point in time. There's enough money in the system. I think the rates are not unattractive, clean balance sheets. Demand will keep going up and down. Some inflationary pressure would come in because of possibly imported, I would say, inflation. But I think we have been used to handling this. So nothing needs to be done which is spectacularly different from what we have done in the past.
I know, I mean, a point well taken. But in your long experience, do you think we've hit the trough in terms of growth, at least growth rates?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think this is absolutely transitionary. And we could
Mr. Kamath, what I meant is a trough. I mean, a bottom.
Yeah.
with what we saw last quarter, not a top.
Okay. I thought you said. Yeah. I think so. I think see, last quarter. Now that we look at the number, clearly government spending in the previous quarter was very low. It has now started to pick up. With that itself should provide a momentum. So we will see, and probably we'll also have to see was there over leverage in certain sectors. In between, we talked about the Reserve Bank tightening. To me, it could be also because individuals were getting over leveraged on an unsecured basis, and the regulator had to tighten. So all these had an impact in terms of we saw that impact in the marketplace. It should revive in the quarter. So yes, to answer your question, do I think that we hit a trough in the last quarter? Yes, that trough is, I think, behind us, and we should now look at sustained growth.
And as you said, right, I mean, balance sheets are in great shape across corporate India. Banking balance sheets are in good shape as well, although at the margin, cyclically, there is a bit of a uptick in stress. But generally, it's a pretty good environment. So in that sense, from a government perspective, not so much Main Street, you think the focus, I mean, it needs to loosen its purse strings a little bit? Too much focus on the fiscal deficit at a time like this, perhaps unwarranted?
I think from what I have read, it appears that it was not a question of the deficit or not. It was a question of releasing liquidity by spending gas. I think that has now started, and everybody says that the next quarter that should pick up. So I would go with that. Nothing extra is required to look at the deficit per se or interest rate per se at this point in time.
Well, just one last question, Mr. Kamath. Were you surprised with the last minute? The government waited till the very last minute to announce the appointment. Do you think there was any specific reason?
I have not seen when and what other appointments were done. I will say that we've had, I think, great leaders in the Reserve Bank, and I think the tradition continues with Mr. Malhotra. So that's all I would say. So we look forward to his steady hand, guiding the ship through our next journey.
And absolutely, over the next 3 years, and we all do. Mr. Kamath, thank you so much for taking out the time and being with us here on CNBC TV18. It's a real pleasure having you and your views across. Thank you. Well, I think as Mr. KV Kamath and his thoughts, I think we got the numbers for mutual fund data coming through, right? AMFI numbers.